Hi guys, I made mine as a conical blouse but with the same exact off-shoulder neckline effect and also the pointy sleeve and the ruffle effect on the sleeve. So this is the pattern drafting tutorial. Let's head straight to it. Firstly, you'll be needing your basic bodice front. I have the neckline, of course, in basic because it is a basic bodice. Your bust point, your under bust point line, your waistline, and of course the hemline, the length of the blouse, the waist dart, and of course the side bust dart and the waist dart. Okay, so I'll be turning this around like so. Then next thing I'll do is to go ahead and get my sleeve. I labeled back and front, and also I made the center of the sleeve highlighted so you guys can see it. I'm going to be attaching this to this point like so, and with my sellotape I'll go ahead to hold it down. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do auto subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know when I post lovely tutorials like this. So now I marked the depth of my blouse, the neckline, the depth of neckline of my blouse. I use dotted lines because this is not going to be the actual neckline. It's just like a guideline. Now from the center of my sleeve, I marked 3 inches. That is how deep I want the off shoulder of the sleeve to be. All right, now with a ruler I'm going to be connecting from that 3 inches point at the sleeve to this very point at the center front where I feel like my neckline is going to be starting from. So here again I'm using dotted slash lines or broken slash lines because it is not the actual neckline. Please, as we move along or as we continue, you understand what I'm saying in this tutorial. I'm going to be marking the midpoint of this place from this point to this point of the armhole, and the midpoint is around almost 4 inches, 3.8 thereabouts. Now it's time to draw in that curved neckline effect. All right, it's time to draw in that curved neckline effect. So using that midpoint as a guideline, I'm going to be drawing in the curved neckline effect. There is no one way of doing this. You can play around with it. Okay, once you get the midpoint, you can play around with how high you want yours to be. So you can play around with it. And at this point, this is what I have, and I think I'm okay with it. So I'm going to be using my marker to highlight it so it's visible enough for you guys to see. So at this point I'm trying to check, and I just wanted it to be uniform. I just wanted uniformity in the design. I wanted those, circular stuffs to be in uniform, but you can leave yours, like I said, you can play around with it. Just let the one of this side and this other side to be uniform. That was why I used my ruler to check it. So I had to redraw this like so, and this was how it came out. Now, since this is an off shoulder, we are cutting off the whole of this upper part. If you cut it off like that and sew it, it's going to gap. So you have to contour. Now, the first contour guideline we are going to be imputing is the contour guideline at the neckline. So anywhere around your neckline from 1.5 inches to 2 inches, you're going to be ruling a straight line from that point to the bust point. And at this point, from the bust point, you impute your bust arc measurement. That is where your contour dart is going to sit. I've gone ahead to draw mine, and then I'll be marking 1/2 inch on top of the bust arc, which is where my contour dart is. So I'm going to be connecting it like so from that 1/2 inch to this point and also to the bust point like this. Now this is the first contour dart for this. Now the second contour dart we are going to be needing, of course, is at the shoulder. We are removing the shoulder, so we have to contour it so it does not gap. Next thing, we are going to be ruling a straight line from this point of the shoulder to the bust point. And also I'll go ahead to impute my bust arc. Just like I said before, our dart is going to sit on it. So having done that now, I'll go ahead to impute my darts 1/2 inch, and I'll also go ahead now to use my ruler to join it to this point and also to this point like so. So at this point now, all these are the darts we have in place. Okay, so these are the darts in place. Now I'm going to be using, for my bustier, I'm going to be using a shoulder princess seam. In order to get that, I'm going to be marking from the tip or from the midpoint of my shoulder all the way down to the bust point. Now, this is not a contour dart, it is a style line. Okay, it's not a contour dart, it's a style line. As you can see, it's not even a dart, it's just a straight line. It's a style line. So I went ahead to kind of make my off shoulder from the sleeve down to the bodice to look okay. And this is what this whole stuff is looking like right now. Then I'll go ahead to use my scissors to detach the sleeve from the bodice. So I'm just going to be cutting out that very part of the sleeve that we're taking away, because it's an off shoulder, of course. So we are taking it away. Do not mind that. It's just, I think it got ripped. So when I'm cutting it on the fabric, I'm going to chew it, or I chewed it already as I was cutting it on the fabric, like you saw earlier at the beginning of the video. Now we're going to contour the underbust, and to contour your underbust, you have to mark 1 inch from the bust apart measurement. I'm going to mark the 1 inch, and I'm going to be connecting it to the bust point like so, and also connecting it to the waistline like so. Same thing also I'm going ahead to do to the other side. There will be a sewing tutorial for this video, so it didn't just stop here. I'll be posting the sewing video by God's grace tomorrow, so you want to stay tuned. Now I'm going to be adding a conical effect to the hip part of it. So I marked 4 inches downwards like I did earlier. I'm going to be connecting it to this very point like so, in kind of a curved manner. Okay, I'm going to be connecting it to this point like so, in a kind of a curved manner. You want to be very intentional while doing this. So this is what we are having, and I'm going to add fresh pattern paper just to give it the conical effect. Okay, I was supposed to do this before I even start drawing the style line, so I'll go ahead and do it now. Like I said, we are using 4 inches, and I'll show you guys. I'm going to be making sure that that extension is 4 inches. Okay. Meanwhile, the width of the extension, I use 2.5 inches. The length is 4 inches. I don't really want something that is so much obvious, because I'm not using a boning. I'm only using hard cloth comb for it. So I'm not using a boning. I don't really want something that is so obvious. So this is what we have now, and we'll go ahead to cut it out. Now we are going to start manipulating the darts. Firstly, we are trying to create we're trying to close up the contour darts and open them at the side bust dart. So firstly, we are going to be closing the shoulder contour darts, and just exactly the way you see me do now, that is what you're going to do. And we'll close it. So I'll go ahead and use my tip to hold it down. Also go ahead to cut open and close the neckline contour dart. So as you can see, because of the darts we closed, the design or the style line we drew, it went out of place. So we are going to be replacing it. We're going to be redrawing it out to make it come back to place like so. Okay. So having done that now, I'm going to be cutting out the neckline right away. So this is what it's looking like now. So do not forget, this is the shoulder princess seam style line. Okay, so we're going to be creating the shoulder princess seam right now. So we're going to be cutting the style line open up onto the way to the bust point. And then we'll go ahead to transfer, to close up the side bust dart and transfer the whole dart to that very star line. So now we'll go ahead to remove the rest of the dart excesses that we do not need. I had to cut this off because what is it doing there? It's not needed. I just cut it off. And I try to close it to see what is going to look like when we are done sewing. So I felt there's a need to true that very part. Look, the truing now, it depends on what you want, okay? There's no standard to say this is what you should do here. When you close yours up and it's not giving you what you want, or it looks like it's not the way you want it, you can redraw it. All right, I'm redrawing my own hair. I deepened it. You can decide to increase your own. It's all okay. Just make sure that whatever you're drawing looks good as you're looking at it. So by the time I did mine, this is what it looks like. And I felt like it's okay. So I'm going ahead to cut off the rest of the darts. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to, of course, smoothen out this place. So we have kind of, so we have the natural bust effect. I smoothen it out, so we have the natural bust effect. Okay, so I'm going to have to use my scissors to cut out that excess that we do not need. And you guys, this is all for the front bodice pattern. This is what the front bodice pattern should look like. Okay, with the sleeve. This is what the front bodice pattern should look like. We'll set it aside now so we can work on the back. Now this is my back bodice. I have my back bust line, the waistline and the hem line, the shoulder dart and the waist line and the waist dart of the back. The next thing we're going to do is to bring the sleeve and put it just like the way we did for the front. I'll go ahead to tape it down. Right here we are going to be marking, it should be same 3 inches, same thing you did to the front for the center of the sleeve, same thing you will do to the back. Okay, so now I'm trying to get the depth of my back neckline. Already the basic neckline has ½ inch removed already. So now I'm using 7.5 inches in total. I'm going to be just connecting it. For the back neckline, I'm not going to be doing that very curved effects we have at the front. I'll just use a rounded neckline to meet the shoulder, sorry, to meet this center sleeve like so. I'll just use a rounded neckline. That's what I'm going to be using. I won't do that very curved effect that we'll have at the front. But if you want to do it, same procedure for the front, that is what you're going to be using for the back. Okay. So I went ahead to do this right now. This is what it looks like. So since it's an off shoulder, we also have to contour the back. To contour the back from the midpoint of the shoulder, I came down by 3 inches. I will square a line across on that 3 inches mark. And then on the 3 inches line, we are going to be marking our bust apart measurements, which you guys also know as nipple to nipple. And on top of that nipple to nipple, we'll just go ahead to connect that line to meet the back bust line like so. Then we are going to recreate a new dart. From that point, we are going to rule a straight line to meet the waist dart on the waistline on both sides. So we have recreated a new dart. All right. And that very dart at the top part of it, at the cutout, is going to serve as a contour for the back. So I'm going to cut this. Can you see the sleeve is now an off-shoulder sleeve? So we're going to be cutting this out right now. So this is what it looks like. So the conical effect also for the back, we're going to be including it right now. I added the fresh pattern paper and I'll be using my sellotape to hold it down. I also went ahead to bring this part of the back pattern and also taped it down. So we're going to be using the front pattern to kind of serve as a guide for the back conical effect, so there is uniformity in what we are doing. Okay, so I use the front pattern to check it for a guide, and then I set it aside and continued with the pattern with the style line. You can play around with this. It mustn't just be like my own. Okay, you can play around with it. So then I'm going ahead now to cut out the excesses that we do not need. And so this is what the back pattern looks like, and this is the front pattern. Okay, so these are the pattern, this is the sleeve. So we're going to work on the sleeve for that pointy effect. Now this is the sleeve, which is just the basic off shoulder sleeve. I got a fresh pattern paper and I'm going to be putting it like so, the sleeve on top of it. I'll use my sellotape to hold it down. So I haven't held it down on top of the fresh pattern paper. I'll go ahead to extend the center sleeve all the way upwards. Now remember, we want a pointy effect which went above the cap sleeve. The pointy effect is way higher than the normal cap sleeve. And this is an off shoulder. We already removed 3 inches from the cap sleeve, right? We removed 3 inches already from the cap sleeve. So I'm going to be marking that 3 inches that we removed from the cap sleeve, like so. Now you cannot decide from here how much excess you want. So me, I used 4 inches. All right. So I used 4 inches. Now we're going to be connecting that part to this very part of the sleeve with, you can decide to make it a curvy stuff. I know you can decide just play around with it, but don't give it a circular. I don't know what it's going to look like if you make it look circular. Straight line or a slightly curved line is okay, because we want it to be pointy. So this is what the sleeve is going to look like. Okay, now there is a ruffle effect on top of this sleeve. It covered the sleeve actually. There's a ruffle effect that covered this sleeve actually. So it's the ruffle effect we are trying to get now. I went ahead to place the whole sleeve on the fresh pattern paper. I'm going to try to get an oval shape that is going to be covering the sleeve. You know that some part of the sleeve will go into the underarm. Okay, so we want that ruffle effect to cover up the whole sleeve. Like you won't even know there's a sleeve there. So we are extending also the length of the oval shape stuff away from the hem of the sleeve, because it's going to cover up the sleeve that you wouldn't know there's a sleeve there actually. So I went ahead to draw in the oval shape stuff. There are going to be ruffles on top of this oval shape now. I'll be using an organza to create ruffles on top of this oval shape. So I traced it out from the main sleeve, and this is what it looks like. You have to mark necessary points so you don't forget where is the top, where is the bottom, where it's supposed to rest, and don't discard your pattern till you're done sewing. It's going to help you a lot. So I marked every necessary point, how to place it here. So this is what the pattern looks like, and we'll do the sewing in the next video. Bye.